class. This is our twin study presentation by Tatiana. My name is Kim. So we chose psychopathic personality traits in 5-year-old twins, the importance of genetic and shared environmental influences. So this is the article that we chose, and the 3 main goals that were on the article were, the first one was examine genetic and environmental etiology of dimensions. Our second goal was our genetic and environmental etiology dimensions comparable in both boys and girls. The third goal is how much phenotypic correlation among the dimensions is accounted for by genetic and environmental influences.
Studies in Sweden use the Sweden Twin Registry, which as of 2022 had approximately 200,000 twins registered, with the verified zygosity in approximately 160,000 through their DNA and blood serum. The study used the data from the preschool twin study in Sweden project to assess the psychopathic personality traits in 5-year-old twin preschoolers. The study consisted of 1,189 children, 591 were boys, 598 were girls. In Sweden, children attend preschool for 4 years. So as an attempt to prevent bias, teachers were asked to complete the child problematic traits inventory for the twins, with 62% of those teachers knowing the twins for more than 2 years.
Dimensions of psychopathic personality trait. So our article states that psychopathic personality traits were assessed with child problematic traits inventory. Within CPTI, there are 3 factors. There is grandiose, deceitful, callous, unemotional, and impulsive/need for stimulation. According to Chapter 7 of our textbooks, antisocial personality involves impulsivity and an inability to restrain antisocial urges. So how exactly might we see an example of this in real life? Well, imagine a 5-year-old child playing with other children on a playground. Now the child starts to hit and injure other children. Again, in Chapter 7 of our textbook, it mentions that failing to stop and think before continuing to participate in harmful activities is a sign of antisocial personality. One could argue that 5-year-olds in general don't necessarily stop and think about their actions simply because they're children. However, it's important to understand that there is a difference between kids being kids and kids going out of their way to cause bodily harm to other children.
It's talking about the variances of measured traits, and for our article, the researchers used the shared environmental factor, which accounts for similarities within sets of twins. So for an example, from the textbook in Chapter 6, it mentioned people with high intelligence gravitate to environments that foster learning. To connect this with our article, an example would be if someone lived in a manipulative, toxic environment, they would start to gravitate toward that type of behavior. And for the second variance measured, it is the non-shared environmental factors that make siblings different. An example would be if siblings had divorced parents and one sibling stayed with the mom and the other sibling stayed with the dad. Factor used, it was genetic factors measured with monozygotic twins. And for the fourth one, it was non-genetic factors but shared environmental factors measured with dizygotic twins. It's important to keep in mind that there might be a larger genetic influence because monozygotic twins have 100% shared DNA, whereas the dizygotic twins have 50% shared DNA, but it can range from 0 to 100%. It's also important to keep in mind that genetic and environmental factors aren't necessarily 2 independent things. They often have a correlation with one another.
And this brings us to our results section. So the first goal of the study was for the researchers to examine the genetic and environmental etiology of dimensions. One thing to note before I continue with these results is that in Chapter 7 of our textbook, when looking at and analyzing the results of twin studies, if there are correlations found in both monozygotic and dizygotic twins, then it supports that there is a shared environmental influence. If monozygotic twins have shown correlation that are not found in dizygotic twins, then it supports that that the dimension is genetic. However, if there's no correlation found between the dimensions and within the twin pairs, then it supports that the dimension is not shared environmentally. When looking at the callous unemotional dimension and the grandiose deceitful dimension, the researchers The research done supported that there was both genetic and shared environmental influences. And in the impulsive need for stimulation dimension, which supports the large genetic influence. The second goal of the study was to find if there was any difference between boys and girls, which resulted in no significant differences found. So the final goal of the study was how much the phenotypic correlation among the dimensions is accounted for in the genetic and environmental influences. This table shows the phenotypic correlations, the percentage of the genetic influences, the percentage of the shared influences, and this is the 9 shared influences of combined dimensions. Thank you for watching our presentation. Join us next time!